I'm Brian Cox. My full title is Professor of Particle Physics at the University of Manchester and Royal Society Professor for the Public Engagement in Science. But I'm just Brian, essentially. I mean, there are some obvious things, I think. One is that you have to love it and also understand in some depth what you're trying to talk about. And that might seem obvious, but actually it's quite difficult. One of the things you always have to bear in mind is that the things you're talking about, even though they might be relatively trivial to a kind of an experienced scientist, you will find actually that there are always things that you say, actually, do I fully understand that? And it's a very rewarding experience if you're honest with yourself and you say, no, I'm not quite sure. I just said something. I've been saying something for years to audiences, and then you think, what's the actual basis of that thing that I'm talking about? And then you dig a bit more. I think everyone's route is different. I started by giving talks essentially to schools that we call them masterclasses at Manchester, and I found it really nerve-wracking actually, and quite difficult to prepare an hour's talk for like 250 or 300 students from schools, and that's, I think, a good training ground, because it does expose you to these ideas that to explain something simply you have to do quite a lot of work. I'd also say don't underestimate audiences, which is critical, especially actually in television, because the television, the tendency to underestimate the audience is enormous. And I think that this show that I'm doing tonight here in Copenhagen, we've just done the same show in Britain, but a lot bigger. And then you get a huge cross-section of ages. But you find actually that you need to have some quite deep concepts in there, because some of the audience will want that. But you also need to have some in case of astronomy, pretty pictures and big ideas that you can talk about. So I think there's sometimes a temptation to build to big complex ideas, and I think that's probably wrong. I think that you can go much deeper as long as you allow it to drift back into something slightly more visual again, and then go deep again, and then go visual. And that's we always try to do that in television.